It's mid-morning, Volusia County, Florida. I'm the Philosopher Pirate, and this is Florida at Large. This is the first morning that I'm shooting this video after actually starting some actual work. This is one of my laptops, tablets, whatever you want to call them these days, mouse. And I found the best mouse pad because there's a lot of perspiration on the road with my wrist and hands. My hands do perspire quite a bit, and so do my feet. That's a whole another story. I believe that's called hydrohidrosis. Anyways, I found the newspaper is disposable mouse pads. I destroy them. They start fraying, curling on the edges from all the moisture in my hands. And it's hot in Florida. Today, I awakened to, I think, 77 degrees. And that's a whole other story. How does one actually sleep in a van like this? And those episodes will all be on the van build. This is my morning ramblings. Obviously, I'm rambling. I want to thank anonymous $5 donator. I don't know if you're planning on doing that every day for a cup of coffee. I'm going to accept it as internet payment because I was looking into my coffee cost and it's actually less than $15 a month. So I'm going to calculate how much each one of these, which is basically 2 8-ounce cups of coffee. Sometimes a 5 ounce is considered a cup of coffee. Then it would be 3 and a little more cups of coffee. I don't know. Anyways, I'm going to calculate how much just my serving, because I consume 2 or 3 of these a day. I'll actually calculate my coffee cost. It is minimal. I would rather spend that money on something else, good coffee. And that was one of the reasons I have an entire tote devoted to coffee, an entire box devoted to coffee with a coffee grinder, a stovetop percolator, and it contains my coffee supplies. And it also has some tea. Sometimes I'll drink tea in the afternoon when it's chilly out, not in the summer. This movement has taken on proportions that I did not expect. I didn't realize how many fans of the Florida parks there were. It may be people just trying to politicize the event, environmentalists like the Sierra Club and so forth. But in any case, it's wrong. It really doesn't matter whether it's liberals or conservatives or libertarians, or authoritarians for that matter. Supporting this, leave the parks alone. Leave them nature. I don't mind so much the Frisbee, or I'm sorry to use the brand name, but the disc golf courses. Basically, I don't know if you've ever seen a disc golf course. Sometimes it's done differently. Sometimes it's done. The simplest I've seen is just basically, basically a post and then a cross piece and some chains hanging, and the chains are kind of hanging. And then toss the disc, if you're a lefty, into the chains, and you hit the chain. That's like in a hole in golf, and then one just tracks their strokes, records their strokes, and that's how the game is played. That game can completely be established along the trails that are already there, and that really won't impact the environment any more than the signage along the trails. And the signage along the trails will often identify a white cedar, and then in the description underneath, and I want to say I really appreciate that, state of Florida. Park services. I'm not such a big fan of the Department of Environmental Protection of Florida now with this Great Parks Initiative. They're supposed to be protecting the environment, not promoting tourism. I think they have confused agendas. And again, it is appearing more and more, especially yesterday when I did the research and discovered how much of a cash cow the park system is for the state of Florida. This whole thing appears to be a ploy, a tact to enrich friends, associates, and perhaps donors to somehow repay them for their work in the construction, development, and maintaining and supporting these 350-room hotels and so forth. The pickleball one really amazed me, but I actually spoke with some folks in the Tallahassee area, in the Tampa area. I communicated with, and they basically explained to me that pickleball is damaging to the environment because it's paved. It destroys habitat. Now, it's not very large. I asked the question to the individual, and I don't think I need to identify them. I mean, I did criticize journalists about not naming their sources, but this is something that's just common knowledge. So I don't think it's necessary to name the source. Badminton and volleyball, if played on grass, and even tennis, if played on grass or dirt, whatever, it doesn't really impact the environment that much. Where the environment is impacted is paving, and less paving, I guess, the better. I guess I guess pavers could be installed, and they would be, porous, so to speak. But it's not the same as having the raw earth under one's feet for the wildlife and for the humans that are deciding to venture, into the outdoors. If this is a great outdoor initiative, then those aren't outdoors. I don't consider pickleball outdoors. But again, the impact of the pickleball to me is much less than the 350-room resorts, the giant parking lots that will accompany them, and all the trash and sewage, infrastructure for water, and so forth. All they're going to have to exhume, excavate all of that earth. And when I say exhume, there might be remains. Some of these parks may contain, native peoples. I hate to say that anybody's a native of the Americas. Archaeologists know, scientists know from what we found. Humans weren't here as long as they were everywhere else in the world, pretty much. Mainly, with a few exceptions. So I prefer to say first arrivers, and I hope I'm not offending anybody, but they were the first to arrive. And we know with DNA analysis and so forth that ancestries, are basically, it was Asian ancestries, Mongolia, Kamchatka, that region. And again, I'm not trying to offend anybody. I basically call people what they want to be called. I prefer to be called American. My ancestry is Irish Italian, if you're curious. But that's just my ancestry. I'm American now. I'm Floridian, and I'm American. The parks, I attached list of the parks. I don't think it's necessary to read through it on the video. I've been to every single one of them. I visited, I should say, is a better word, and I've enjoyed every one of them. There's only one state park I had an unfavorable experience, and I'll save that for another video. And it was basically just about the posting of hours. I arrived, and the park was closing within 20 minutes, and I was asked to leave way ahead of the park closing by the ranger, and he became argumentative because I was just trying to finish cooking a meal. So there I did. I explained it. But I'm not going to say which park it is. I'm actually probably never going to say which park it is. I'm going to give this ranger a chance. Maybe he was just having a bad day. Maybe he was on his way to his kid's Little League practice, or he was having marital issues. I don't know. Some people have bad days. Give everybody a pass on that. Now, if it's consistent poor behavior, then that's consistent poor behavior. According to the Tampa Bay Times, there are thousands of people protesting around Florida. Same thing, Tallahassee Democrats reporting the same thing with regard to this. So I'm basically I'm going to continue my efforts, but I don't think it's necessary for me to write strong letters, although I'm still going to do so because of the number of people protesting from all affiliations. I do want to throw in a little note here. The Tampa Bay Times, okay? Google feeds this to me in the morning. Feeds me the Tampa Bay Times and part of my news feed. Now, most articles, ABC News, CNN, Fox, even some of the foreign sources, BBC and so forth, I really appreciate. Google feeds them. I don't know if they're listening to me. Some people say they're listening to you. That's how they know what to feed. I think more or less it's watching my browsing activity, which we all consent to without even realizing it, and all these privacy and end user licensing agreements, EULAs. Most of them let you read the article in its entirety and even browse through the comments and even comment if one has an account or wishes to establish one. And then if we try to reread, if one, myself, tries to reread that article later in the day, perhaps the next day, then a paywall. Get the paywall because that's how they make their money. They make their money off of advertising and subscription. These FUDs, I will affectionately call them. And FUDs, I'm going to try to bring that word back so I don't have to use any profanity. I might use the word Fs. But FUD. FUD, I think, means silly, stupid person or whatever, or event or action. Bring back FUD, F-U-D. The stupid FUDs at the Tampa Bay Times. And the The chief FUD is a gentleman by the name of Conan Galati or Galati. I don't know. He's Roswell, Georgia, is where he's from, so he's not confused with another. I didn't bother researching his middle name so that he wasn't confused with another one. He's the CEO, so that's where the buck stops. And basically, as my grandmother used to tell me, or used to say to people, Mr. Conan and Galati, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. I'll leave it at that. Paywalls, I don't mind, but if you're going to send me something for free to read, don't give me a paywall on that first shot. Let me read the article. Otherwise, I'm never going to buy a subscription from the Tampa Bay Times, and I never will as long as they continue this practice. And I encourage no one else to do the same. Let them make their money from advertising on partially read articles. Let's see how many advertisers want to advertise with them when you can't read the article in its entirety. Because when I hit the paywall after the first half of a paragraph, I left. But the headline stated that thousands were protesting. I did read articles in their entirety on other publications, and honestly, basically the same story. There are quite a few people protesting around Florida, and for different reasons, but the main common denominator reason is to protect the park. Yesterday, I intended on, or this morning, early morning hours, I intended on filming a couple launches. One was postponed. The other one was also postponed, and the rescheduling wasn't apparent from X.com, which is Twitter, and also SpaceX's website. And I thought it was going to be just shy of 6 a.m. Now, I may have misread something. Maybe there was a time zone issue. I'm UTC, Universal Time Coordinated, -4 currently because we're on daylight time. I don't know if what was the cause, but I missed the launch. So I was resting in this van, and the van started vibrating, and there were bright lights. No aliens weren't landing. And then there was a roar of engines, and I realized, oh, geez, I missed the launch. And by the time I would have exited the van and readied my camera equipment, and besides, to catch that liftoff moment is important. This launch actually is historic because since 2021, I'm getting old, by the way. Since 2021, the SpaceX organization has not had a mishap with a booster returning. This was the first one. And apparently it caught fire. I don't know if they lost the booster or not. I haven't looked into the further details, but I do associate with some people in the space industry, and I learned that early this morning, and it's also made the news now. But I would say, you know what? Don't focus on the one mishap. Learn from that mishap, as Elon Musk likes to state, rapid, unplanned disassembly, his RUD term. Basically, the rocket blew up. But it's always a learning experience, and that's the way life is. Just like my experience this morning, maybe when I'm tired and groggy, I should have made absolutely sure of the rescheduled launch time, because it was actually about an hour later, and I actually started snoozing. I would have just made some more coffee, deliberate perseverance. That's what I refer to the van as. I would have made some more coffee and brewed some more coffee, to use a better verb. And I would have filmed the launch and shared it with you today. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. And it's a learning experience. Besides, all the procedures and everything is kind of like a rehearsal. And the military, they call that training. Firefighters, first responders. When they do things and they don't result in any actual life savings or extinguishing a fire, that whole procedure of preparing and traveling and stowing and all of that of equipment and everything, the cleaning process, that's all learning, and that ingrains. It's training. Or in the theater business, that would be a rehearsal. I look at it as a positive experience. I wish I would have captured the video, but in all honesty, on this space coast of Florida, if you're unaware, there are launches sometimes every 2 or 3 days. Sometimes every single day, but at least 10, 15 times a month has been my observation, and it's going to become more frequent. Blue Origin's about ready to come online with a massive rocket, and I'm very interested in the gentleman. I've met several of the gentlemen that actually are building the rockets, and they're just amazing people, really amazing people. So we'll see how that goes, and I'm looking forward to more visits to the Space Coast. It's we're things are progressing here, and just to share one more story, and then I'm going to make this a little shorter one today. I encountered an individual last evening, and when I was preparing to get ready for my shooting and so forth, and this individual went on for over 20 minutes of just complaining about pretty much everything, including their own life. But they also were mentioning someone that they had a relationship with, and this person they had a relationship with, basically, it was described to me that this person, this individual, destroyed everything around them, not just that relationship, intimate relationship, but destroyed every friendship. It's almost as if this person purposely was doing it. Sabotaged, was destructive with their own job, with everything, their possessions, everything around them. It just seemed like they were happier if they were destroying something. This individual was destroying something. And then this individual I was speaking with, I almost mistakenly said the name of the individual, stated to me, now this individual is lonely and old and left with no one to speak with, no one to converse, has no friends, no relations and everything, and now seems puzzled. Well, this is kind of gets back to the parks. This destructive behavior on the parks with the development, the concrete jungle, so forth, will take a long time to reverse. Nature is very quick at growth. I mean, look at highway that's or railroad tracks that aren't used very often. I mean, you can see the growth very quick, but that's just weeds. Old growth and established scrubs and wetlands and so forth that are just cover this beautiful state of Florida. Those are a long time in reestablishing, and especially with you got to realize when there's pavement, that's petroleum products, and they're poisonous to a lot of life. Not fire ants, but they are poisonous to a lot of life. Many life forms, and let's carefully think this through. Florida Department of Environmental Protection. That's the name of your department. It's not Florida Promote Tourism and Enrich Your Friends, Donators, and Buddies and Families. It is protect the environment. Do your job. That's your job, is to protect the environment. You're not doing that. And Governor DeSantis, I encourage you to, the Park Service should perhaps be its own entity that reports directly to yourself, and not be under the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, because obviously they don't understand what protecting the environment is even about. I'm going to conclude there. It's mid-morning. I'm the Philosopher Pirate, and this is Florida at Large.